is fun to be queen sometimes.
If you do not go, I will start kicking you. And I will not stop.
My dear friend, how good to see you've returned from hell. I'm sure you shall pass through it one day.
The Favorite. The Favorite's a movie about a 18th century queen, in this case, Queen Anne. So The Favorite is a period piece that stars Olivia Colman, Rachel Weisz, and Emma Stone, and it revolves around Queen Anne and the two people that were trying to woo for her affection, Sarah Churchill and Abigail Hill. And these people were real life figures, and as far as the movie, I'm sure liberties were taken, but it really embattles around the Queen and her health, or lack thereof, her struggles with France, where people are trying to get her to do certain things, and at the same time to gain power from her because of weak leadership. And also these two people, played by Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz, who are trying to woo her affection, and there's that infighting there. The movie's pretty clever in how it handles the protagonist. And in the spoiler section, I will talk a little bit more about that. For the story and depth of The Favorite, I give it a 7. I mean, I think the movie did a fairly decent job of keeping you on your toes, because there's some unexpected things in this film that I thought were pretty clever in how they were delivered. And so yeah, I'll give it a 7. For emotional impact, I give it a 5. Nothing really outstanding here. It should really get lower, because if it's trying to be a black comedy, it didn't really do a good job of that. It just wasn't funny, and nothing really moved me one way or the other. As far as intangibles category is concerned, I give this movie a 5. I don't have anything really to say about it other than maybe the costumes, but for a movie set in the 18th century, you kind of had to have that, so I'm not going to give it something that's supposed to have anyway. So 5 for intangibles. As far as watchability, I give this movie a solid 4, which means I don't want to see this movie ever again. I'm never going to recommend it to anybody ever again. It's by far the worst Oscar movie I've seen this year, one of the worst Oscar movies I've seen in a long time. And I know there's people who are going to say, well, Kyle, it's got this, it's got that. From a technical standpoint, yeah, it's probably great, but if you don't want to see a movie or watch a movie or recommend a movie, how can you say it's good? Remember, movies are subjective, meaning that my opinion is no better than yours and so forth. There's no way to say that one movie is better than the other. But on my rating, this movie is not very good at all. And for an Oscar movie, it's a 4. It doesn't deliver on anything it wants to do, with one caveat, which I would get in the spoiler section. My overall rating for this film is a 5. Dead even, pretty much 2.5 stars, because it does have things in it that are pretty brilliant in terms of technical stuff. But in terms of the story and the characters, yeah, it's a 5. Now, for my conservative take, spoilers are below. This movie is pretty much, like I said before, it's not something I want to watch. I mean, all the characters are horrible characters. The Queen herself is a character that her main cohort, who's trying to woo her affection, she's played by Rachel Weisz. Her character is pretty despicable, at least in the beginning. But then you have Emma Stone who comes into play, and this is where I think the movie excels, in the sense that you take a character like Emma Stone, who you believe is a innocent, happy-go-lucky person just trying to move her way up, excel. She becomes a total horrible person. And it's like, dude, really? Are you going to be like that? So really you have a juxtaposition of the Sarah Churchill, which is the character who is basically the first in line to the Queen, and you have Abigail Hill, which is her cousin, which is played by Emma Stone. Those two people juxtaposed toward the end, because Emma Stone's character basically finagles her way, almost kills her older cousin, to get in the position to where she could be close to the Queen. She does whatever it takes, and is a total evil character, and the Queen recognizes this and eventually puts her in her place at the end of the movie. And that's pretty much it. So we're pretty much set where at the beginning of the film, where you thought the Queen was one way, you thought that the Sarah Churchill character was one way, the Emma Stone character, Abigail Hill, they switch places, and then at the end of the film, you have basically what you had before, but just two positions swapped over. And it was done pretty well because I thought Emma Stone did a good job playing that role. It was a very, very evil role. And for that, I give it, that's probably where it's really, really excels. But overall, it's not worth getting there. It's not worth the 2.5 hours to watch that, to get to that point. Just my opinion. As far as social justice or political stuff on this, I don't see any reason you could not watch this. I mean, there's nothing outlandishly bad in that regard. So I would give it a go with caution, just because I'm not giving it a go, period, from the other standpoint. So it is what it is, but there's nothing, in my opinion, that's overtly political or trying to manipulate in terms of something that's inaccurate out of history. It is what it is, and yeah, so I say a go with caution. So my final review for this would be an overall rating would be 9.75, which for an Oscar film is really, really, really low. That translates to a 2.5 star out of 4 and 3 stars out of 5, which is fairly generous. But because of Emma Stone's acting and some of the set pieces they do with dancing and the historical standpoint, it does keep me interested to a point. So I can say, if you're interested in history, I can at least recommend it from that standpoint, given the 2.5 stars. But in my opinion, this is not an Oscar-worthy film in the least. So with that, I hope you enjoyed that, and look for my other reviews coming up on the Oscars and others. And click like below and subscribe, please. And I would love to hear your comments. Did you see The Favorite? Did you like it? Am I crazy? Is there something that I missed that I should, think about? If so, maybe I'm wrong. I can adjust my rankings, and I'll maybe make an addendum to this and say maybe it should be a little higher. So I'd be curious to know about that. Okay? So with that, take care. And until next time, I'll see you on my next Conservative Take.